I let my vicious dogs attack my son's family on Christmas Eve after they refused to leave my yard. Even though I warned him not to bring his abnormal wife, who always tries to undo our special traditions, and after they left, screaming at me, I continued celebrating with his normal siblings' family. But now it's January, and they've returned to tell me they're selling my house to pay their medical bills and will sue me unless I put down my dogs. I know everyone here will probably jump down my throat because nobody respects elders anymore and people today think every tiny inconvenience is abuse. But I'm at the end of my rope, and my own sons have turned on me in the ugliest way, so I don't know where else to go besides here. Maybe a stranger can tell me what my ungrateful family refuses to hear. I'm a 67-year-old woman. I have raised 2 boys almost entirely on my own after their father left. I kept the family afloat, worked 2 jobs, kept food on the table, maintained our home, made sure we had Christmas every single year, no matter the budget. I did everything for my kids, and somehow I've become the villain because I won't let my younger son's unstable wife dictate my household or destroy the traditions I spent decades building. It's unbelievable. My older son, Eric, is married to a lovely, normal woman with 2 sweet children who actually know how to behave. My younger son, Andrew, on the other hand, went and married someone who has been a problem from the moment he introduced her. Her name is Lena, but honestly, even saying her name annoys me because everything about her feels like trouble. She's always complaining about something. I'm allergic to this. I can't handle that noise. Your dogs make me nervous. Your home is overstimulating. My body reacts poorly to stress. I can't eat XYZ, and on and on and on. It's always something. Always about her. I've called her abnormal and attention-seeking before, and I stand by that. People like her latch onto the role of the delicate victim so they can control the room. There's always some new sensitivity or issue she insists everyone cater to. Andrew tells me it's a medical condition, but in my day, people lived with their problems without turning them into personality traits. She uses hers like a weapon. She wants everything her way. She wants the spotlight. And every year since Andrew married her, she's tried to change Christmas. Our Christmas Eve tradition has been the same for over 30 years. Same meal, same schedule, same games, same photo on the stairs, same music, same candle lighting, everything done exactly the way it should be. My boys grew up with it. They loved it. They bragged about it to their friends. Then suddenly, Lena arrives and decides she's the only one who knows how things should be. She doesn't want certain foods because of allergies. She asks me to put my dogs away, even though they're part of our home. She says the lights are too bright. She says the music is too loud. She complains the kids get overwhelmed. She criticizes the recipe for the potatoes because they're too salty. Every year she tried to modify something. Every year she pushed and whined and sighed and made everything about her comfort. Every year I let it slide. Until now. I decided I was done. So when Christmas Eve was approaching, I told Andrew plainly that Lena shouldn't come this year. Not because I wanted to exclude him. He was welcome. But because she ruins the night. She rearranges things, interrupts things, makes faces, whispers to Andrew, and I'm sick of it. I told him if he had to bring her, then he needed to respect my rules. She couldn't start her usual nonsense, and the #1 rule was that she must stay away from the dogs. I have 2 Rottweilers. Big boys. They've been with me for years. They guard the property and they love our family. People like to pretend certain breeds are dangerous, but mine are only aggressive when provoked. They've snapped at a neighbor or 2 before, but that neighbor poked one with a broom through the fence, and the other time the guy yelled in my yard. People always leave out the provoking part. I told Andrew, multiple times, that Lena should not be anywhere near the dogs. She's always acting nervous around them, and dogs sense weakness. She acts like they're dangerous when it's her behavior that sets them off. Christmas Eve comes. Eric's family arrives on time with gifts and holiday sweaters. The house felt warm and perfect, exactly the way it should. The kids were excited. The tree lights were beautiful. Everything smelled like cinnamon and ham. Then Andrew drives up, and I see her. She gets out of the car wearing some drab coat and a scarf pulled up around her face like she's walking into a war zone. She doesn't smile. She doesn't wave. She doesn't even say hello. She clings to her daughter like she's shielding her from radiation. I felt my entire mood drop the second I saw her. And then it happened. She stepped into the yard and instantly one of the dogs ran toward her. He wasn't even running aggressively. He just ran. That's how he greets people. And instead of standing still or bending down to let him sniff her like normal people do, she froze. Completely froze like someone hit pause on her. arms stiff, body locked, like she was performing fear rather than experiencing it. Dogs don't understand that kind of energy. It freaks them out. I told her that before. Andrew starts shouting, "Mom, grab the dogs." And I yelled right back, "She needs to stop acting scared. She's provoking them." Before I could say more, both dogs were around her. Lena started screaming, loud, shrill, dramatic, not helpful. Andrew was yelling. Their daughter was crying. Everything turned chaotic all at once. Andrew tried to pull Lena back toward the driveway, shouting for me to help, but it was like they were determined to escalate things instead of listening. I kept telling them, if you listened about the rules, this wouldn't be happening. You brought this on yourselves. And here's the part people are twisting. I did not let the dogs attack. I didn't push her toward them. I didn't stand there smiling. I was yelling instructions they refused to hear. That's not the same thing as sitting back and enjoying it. They acted like animals themselves and made everything 10 times worse. Andrew managed to drag her away eventually. She was shaken, holding her arm, already working herself up into hysterics. He put her in the car and shouted at me that I did nothing, which isn't true, and told me I was dead to him. Dramatic, theatrical language learned straight from his wife. They drove off with their child still crying. And yes, I continued Christmas. What was I supposed to do? Cancel the entire evening because someone got overexcited and refused to follow house rules? Eric and his family were still there. I wasn't going to punish the people who respected me. The next morning, I posted our Christmas photos. They were lovely, smiling grandchildren, perfect lighting, everything the way it should be. Then today, the real blow. Andrew and Lena showed up unannounced. They shoved a stack of medical bills into my hands. Thousands of dollars. They said I had to pay them. They said they were contacting animal control. They said they were suing me. They said they would force the sale of my house. All because his oversensitive, abnormal, boundary-breaking wife refused to respect simple rules and then turned her panic into some massive catastrophe. They also said the dogs have to be put down. I told them they are emotionally blackmailing me. I told them I'm the real victim because my traditions are ruined forever. I told them I am not putting down my dogs just because Lena refuses to get a grip on her emotions. They left telling me, this isn't over. I told them, it is for me. And now I'm here asking, how do I defend myself from my ungrateful son and his unstable wife who are trying to destroy my life over one misunderstanding? Update 1. I woke up 3 mornings after New Year's to the dogs barking their heads off at the front door. At first, I thought it was just another neighbor walking too close to my property like they always do, trying to provoke my boys so they can complain later. But then I heard the pounding, actual pounding, on the door. I opened it expecting to see Andrew having come to his senses and ready to apologize for the way he and his unstable wife attacked me with accusations. Instead, it was 2 officers from animal control holding paperwork. Official paperwork. One of them actually had the nerve to speak to me like I was a criminal. "Ma'am, we have a court order to take the animals for quarantine pending a temperament evaluation." I laughed in their faces at first, literally laughed. I thought it was some kind of joke Andrew concocted. He's always been dramatic like that, especially since marrying that woman who cries at the drop of a hat. But when the officer stepped forward and read off my full name, my address, and detailed the Christmas Eve incident as though I'm the one who attacked her, my stomach dropped. I tried to argue. Of course I did. I told them the dogs were just protecting the yard and that the girl purposely antagonized them. I even said that Lena had thrown her scent off by using some weird essential oils she's always slathering herself in. Do you know what the officer said? "Ma'am, the victim was attacked on your property by your unrestrained animals. This qualifies as negligence." Negligence. Me. After all the years I've spent training those dogs with love, treats, and structure, no matter what the neighbors claim. Negligence. I nearly slammed the door on them. I did what any reasonable mother would do. I grabbed the dogs' leashes and tried to rush them out the back door to Eric's house. He has a huge fenced yard and plenty of space. He's always supported me. He understands tradition. He wouldn't let the government take my boys. Except when I called him, panicked, breathless, shaking, he didn't answer. His wife did. "Do not bring those animals here," she said. "Eric won't get dragged into your mess." My mess? Her children grew up playing with my dogs. My dogs were gentle enough for toddlers to ride like ponies. And now suddenly they're dangerous? Unpredictable? Untrained? I tried to argue, but she hung up. When the officers left, with my dogs in the back of their truck, whining and confused, I felt like someone had ripped out my heart. I stood in my doorway in my robe, watching them drive off with the only living creatures in this world who have never turned on me. Later that afternoon, I received calls from 3 neighbors, not to check in, not to offer sympathy. No, each of them spoke to animal control. One of them even submitted photos of his fence, which my dog supposedly chewed. Another claimed I intimidated her into not reporting a previous bite. I never intimidated anyone. I simply told her that accidents happen and we wouldn't want the neighborhood to become hostile. That's not intimidation, that's diplomacy. Then, of course, Andrew decided to pile on. He showed up mid-afternoon with a folder full of papers, hospital bills for Lena's treatment, letters from their lawyer, and a packet explaining they were moving forward with a lawsuit. I told him he was being dramatic. I told him Lena was manipulating him. I told him suing his own mother over a scratch was the lowest betrayal imaginable. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just looked at me with this cold, exhausted face I'd never seen before. "Mom," he said, "you care more about your dogs than my wife's safety." That sentence felt like a slap. Then he added, "You let them maul her and stood there yelling at us instead of helping." I tried to correct him. I didn't let anything happen. Lena froze on purpose. She always does this. But he cut me off again. "You're not the victim. You're dangerous, and I'm not protecting you anymore." I swear my jaw hit the floor. Against my better judgment, I brought up his childhood home, my home. I told him selling it would kill me. I told him she had poisoned him against me. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "If you had apologized once, just once, we wouldn't be here." I wanted to scream. Apologize for what? For his wife's theatrics? For her inability to act normal around dogs? For her constant attempts to rearrange everything I've built? I didn't scream. I just told him to leave. That night my cousin called. The one who's close to Lena. The one who always insisted I try to understand her medical needs, as if allergies and sensory issues were some kind of disability. Well, it turns out they are. My cousin told me Lena has an autoimmune condition, a real one, something about chronic pain and nerve sensitivity, something that makes freezing during panic a symptom, not dramatics. So apparently Lena wasn't pretending to be scared. She was paralyzed. She physically couldn't move when the dogs lunged. And I stood there yelling about traditions while she was being torn up. I hung up on my cousin. I refused to accept that narrative. 2 days later, my phone started blowing up. Hospital photos leaked into the family group chat. Photos I hadn't seen. Photos of shredded skin on Lena's legs. Stitches running around her arm like a zipper. I felt sick looking at them. Not guilty. Just sick at the exaggeration. The lighting made everything look worse. But that didn't matter. Extended family turned on me like a pack of wolves. My siblings called me reckless, unstable, dangerous. My nieces blocked me in the group chat. Someone, cowardly and anonymous, tipped off the HOA about past dog incidents. Within 24 hours, the HOA was on my doorstep demanding I comply with safety regulations I've ignored for years. I called the board president and he had the nerve to tell me if I shouted again, he'd fine me individually. Everything felt like it was collapsing. Then, middle of the night, my phone buzzed. Andrew sent the official paperwork. They are suing me. They are forcing the sale of my home. They are demanding the dogs be euthanized. I started shaking so hard I dropped the phone. I sat on the kitchen floor for an hour, staring at that email, reading every line over and over until the words blurred. And then, because I am human, because I am a mother, because I believe I am right, I snapped. I told myself Andrew was killing his childhood home, that Lena brainwashed him, that Eric betrayed me by choosing a woman with sensitivities over his own mother, that the neighbors were conspiring, that animal control was corrupt, that the hospital dramatized her injuries, that the HOA was vengeful, because if none of that is true, then the only explanation left is that I did this, and I refuse to believe that. So I end this update the same way I started. I will fight back. Even if I still don't understand why everyone insists this is somehow my fault. Final update. I don't know how to start this without sounding like I'm begging for pity, so I won't. I am writing because my life looks nothing like it did a month ago, and if I don't put it somewhere, I feel like I'll explode. The court date came faster than I expected. I thought legal things took forever. I thought Andrew was bluffing. I thought Lena's family would calm down once the holiday drama passed and they stopped feeding each other panic stories. I was wrong about all of it. I showed up to court with a folder full of photos of my dogs with my grandchildren. I had printouts of texts where I warned Andrew not to bring Lena. I had statements from 2 friends who know my dogs would never attack without reason. I thought if I laid it all out, the judge would see how ridiculous this lawsuit was. The judge didn't care about any of that. He talked about owner responsibility. He talked about prior incidents. He talked about failure to restrain. He read out a list of complaints dating back years. One was a neighbor I don't even like. Another was someone who moved away. Another was from the HOA. He acted like every complaint was a fact and not the neighborhood's obsession with my dogs. Then he looked right at me and said my lack of remorse was disturbing. Disturbing. Me. Like I'm a monster. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I told him plainly that I warned them, that Lena froze, that my dogs reacted to her energy, that my property is my property. He sighed like I was a child refusing to learn a lesson. He ruled me liable, full liability, medical expenses, legal fees, fines, court costs. The whole list. He approved the forced sale of the house to cover the bills. He gave me 45 days to vacate. 45 days to leave the home I've lived in for 37 years. The home I paid off myself. The home where my Christmas Eve traditions began. Andrew sat behind his lawyer, stone-faced. Lena wasn't there. That fact should have rattled me, but it didn't. It annoyed me. She doesn't even show up in person. She sends other people to fight for her and plays the fragile victim somewhere else. I drove home alone after the hearing. I didn't call Eric. I didn't call anyone. I walked into my house and stood in the hallway staring at the coat rack like I'd never seen it before. I could hear echoes of kids running through that space. I could smell old pine in my head. I sat down on the stairs and waited for the shock to pass. It didn't. A week later came the dog evaluation results. I didn't expect good news. I knew animal control wanted to make an example out of me. Still, I was not prepared for how cold the process was. They said the dogs failed. They said the dogs were unsafe. They said euthanasia was required. The word felt like someone put a hand around my throat. I filed an appeal. I begged. I called every number on the paperwork. I told them a retest would show the truth. I told them my dogs were family. I told them they were trained by love, not by fear. They denied the appeal in 2 days. 2 days to decide the lives of the creatures who have guarded me, loved me, slept by my bed, watched my sons grow. When the animal control truck pulled up, I ran outside screaming their names. I held their collars and wouldn't let go. I told the officer to get off my property. He held up the court order and said if I interfered, he would call the sheriff, so I let go. That moment broke something I didn't know could break. I watched them load my dogs into cages. One of them kept whining, looking back at me like he couldn't understand why I wasn't stopping this. I could not breathe. I could not move. I stood there with my fists clenched so hard my nails drew blood into my palms. The officer looked at me, softer than the others, and said quietly, "They weren't trained. They were a danger. Someone was going to get hurt eventually." I wanted to spit in his face. I didn't. I just stood there while they drove away. That night I slept on the kitchen floor because I couldn't stand the silence of my bedroom. The corners of the house felt too big. Every creak sounded like paws that weren't there. 2 days after that, I started packing. I'm not good at packing. I never planned to leave. I always assumed I'd die in that house. I always assumed my sons would bring their families here even when they were old, even if Lena turned everything upside down with her problems. I assumed tradition would outlive arguments, so I packed badly. I stuffed clothes into boxes without folding them. I wrapped dishes in towels without thinking. I kept finding small things that made me stop. A drawing Sophie made years ago, still tucked in a cookbook. A Christmas ornament Andrew glued together in 2nd grade. A dent in the door frame from when Eric and Andrew played indoor football. Every object felt like a witness. Eric still wouldn't take my calls. When I finally reached him, I was straight to the point. I said I needed a place to stay for a bit until I found something. I reminded him I'm his mother. I reminded him his kids love this house. I reminded him how much I've done for him. He didn't budge. He said, "Mom, I'm not doing this." I asked what this meant. He said, "All of it. The dogs, the lawsuit, the way you talk about Lena, the way you handled Christmas. I can't bring that into my house." I told him he was choosing her over me, like Andrew did. He said, "No, I'm choosing safety over chaos." His wife got on the phone long enough to say one sentence. You're not safe to be around." Then she hung up. So that's it. One son suing me, one son refusing me, both of them acting like I'm a hazard to society. I moved into a rental on the edge of town. It's small. It smells like old carpet and bleach. The windows stick. The walls are thin enough to hear the neighbor's TV. There's no yard. There's no porch. There's no space where my dogs would have laid in the sun. The first night, I sat on the floor with a blanket because I hadn't unpacked anything. I stared at my phone, scrolling through photos of last Christmas before Lena ruined it. Photos of Eric's kids smiling, Andrew laughing at the table, the dogs lying near the tree. I couldn't stop zooming in on the dogs, the way they looked so normal, so loved. I don't know what to do with the rage that keeps boiling up. People keep telling me I should feel guilt. Maybe they want to see me grovel. I'm not going to grovel. I did what I thought was right in my home. I warned them. I told them the rules. I didn't invite chaos in. Chaos marched through my front gate wearing Lena's anxious face and Andrew's stubborn pride. And yet, I can't ignore what I'm losing. The house sold fast. Too fast. Like people were circling, waiting for blood in the water. Andrew's lawyers handled everything. I had no say. The check went straight toward the bills I'm now responsible for. I didn't even get to walk through the empty rooms one last time before the keys were handed over. A cousin called me last week to say Lena needed surgery because scar tissue formed wrong. She said Lena has months of rehab ahead. She said Andrew took 2 weeks off work to take care of her. She said their little girl panics around big dogs now and won't sleep alone. I felt something twist in my stomach at that. Not guilt, something more confusing, like I never imagined the damage would stick to the kid too. I assumed this would be a story they told once, a holiday gone wrong and they'd move on. Andrew is acting like I burned down his life. Maybe I don't understand injury the way they do. Maybe I don't understand Lena's condition. Maybe I don't want to. I tried to send my granddaughter a birthday present anyway, a stuffed bear and a card. I wrote that grandma loves her and hopes she feels better after Christmas chaos. I mailed it to Andrew's address because that is where she lives. It came back unopened. Return to sender. Inside was a note from Andrew. 2 sentences. No yelling, no curse words. That almost hurt more. We're protecting our kids now. Do not contact us again. That was the final cut. My siblings don't speak to me except to say I should get therapy. I block them. If they think I'm unstable, they can keep their distance. I'm done being lectured by people who didn't live my life. The HOA still fined me for past violations. Apparently they can do that even after I'm gone. I paid it because I have to. I look at my bank account now and I don't recognize it. Every number in there feels like a punishment. Christmas came again, and for the first time in my life, I spent it alone. No sons, no grandkids, no dogs, no candle lighting, no music, no photo on the stairs. I microwaved a frozen dinner and ate it standing up because sitting at the table made me nauseous. I went on Instagram that night. I didn't mean to. My finger moved on its own. I saw photos of Eric's family at someone else's house. I saw photos of Andrew's family with Lena's cousins, smiling around a different tree. I saw cousins and nieces all together in a group shot that would have once included me. The caption said, "New traditions. New traditions without me." I threw my phone onto the couch and stared at the wall until my eyes hurt. I kept telling myself they were cruel, that they were proving my point about disloyalty, about how people discard their elders. But another part of me, a smaller part I don't like listening to, whispered that maybe they weren't making a point at all. Maybe they were just relieved. Last week I got one more letter from Andrew. Not a message. An actual letter with receipts attached. It laid out the payment plan for the bills I'm tied to for the next 3 years. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't angry. It was cold, logistical, final. At the bottom, he wrote something in handwriting I recognized from when he was a boy. "You warned us to respect your house. We're asking you to respect our safety." I read it 10 times. I tried to hate him for it. I tried to see Lena's hand behind the words. I tried to tell myself he was brainwashed. But the handwriting was his. The phrasing was his. Simple. Firm. It sounded like the little boy who used to stand in this house and tell me the truth even when it was uncomfortable. I don't know what I expected to happen after Christmas Eve. I didn't think I'd be cut out of everything permanently. I didn't think losing the dogs would be real. I didn't think I'd lose my house. I didn't think Eric would drop me too. I didn't think I'd be sitting in a rental eating microwave turkey while my family posts new traditions like I'm a bad memory. Maybe I wanted them to fight with me forever. Maybe I thought they would cool off and come back. Maybe I thought being the mother meant they would always circle back, no matter what. They didn't. Now I wake up every morning and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. I don't know if I want advice or punishment. I don't know if I'm still angry or if I'm just empty. All I know is this is what's left. A small apartment, a forced sale, 2 graves in the back of my head where my dogs used to be, a family that chose safety over me, and a tradition I clung to so tightly that it snapped in my hands.